Recently, Medical Board of Australia published a report, and there were about 1,809 specialist international medical graduate who applied for specialist pathway in between January and December 2023. This number is actually up from 1,390 IMGs who applied for specialist pathways in 2022. But how long did it take to process that? What was the success rate of the application and later job? My name is Dr. Rizwan Qureshi. I'm one of the consultants working here in emergency medicine in Sydney, Australia. You know, when I was sitting in my final year MBBS and later during the first year of my training, there was a degree of procrastination about time. I'll do my PLAB 1 in 3 months, PLAB 2 in 2 months, and then the job would roughly take about 6 to 8 months after doing PLAB 2. So over 1.5 years. In reality, back in 2003, it did not actually quite happen that way. Now, it did take me 1 month and later 3 months to complete my PLAB, but it took me about 12 months to find me my first job. And these 12 months were filled with application, observation, courses, and exam. And they were also filled with tears, backaches, and hundreds of emails for a little flicker of hope. In recent government report, it was predicted that by 2030, there'll be 100% occupancy of emergency training positions here in Australia. But still, large number of doctors taking up all of these training positions, emergency departments will still be busy due to population growth, mostly from aging and also some from migration. So the balance is, I don't think, ever going to be right. In this video, I'm going to talk about the average time frames for junior doctors, GPs, and specialists to complete their exams, getting their job offer, registration, visa, and rest of the things sorting out before starting out here in Australia. The journal outline of in step 1, you do verification of qualification. This is also known as primary source verification. Now, it can for some people extend up to 1 to 2 months. English language proficiency requirement. You may think they may take about 1 month at max, but yes, for some people it can take up to 3 months to up to 6 months. But for more specialist college, you do require English support at the time of submission of specialist application forms. So what about the AMC exams? People say 6 to 12 months. Now, IMGs typically need to pass at least the AMC MCQ before being able to apply for jobs. And yes, the clinical dates are now getting harder. Now, I recently came across many people who were taking our course telling me they were unable to get the exam date. Time to prepare and pass the exams can vary greatly. The good point is that you do not have to do AMC clinical to start looking for jobs. The job search duration can vary greatly depending on, what specialty you're applying. If you've got any preference for location, what are your individual circumstances? Mostly related to your professional experiences, gaps, courses, CPD requirement, and publications, and so forth. Especially more relevant for the specialist pathway, also for mid-tiered, and even now for the junior path. I often say there's a rule of 100 job applications for 10 shortlisting for 1 job. So after securing the job offer, the IMGs will apply for registration with Medical Board of Australia. This will involve the whole new process of documentation, proof and qualifications, and even sometimes interview with your caseworker. Let's say that you're coming from Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. You would require a visa. Now, the visa is not a major hassle from the employer. It's actually the visa processing at the Department of Immigration, which could take up to 1 to 3 months. There's some health requirements with that. There are also, the process of application and when you will get those appointments to get the health checks. So overall, it can take anything from 1.5 months to up to 3 months in total to get a visa. So if you accumulate all that time, this time frame is now looking like between anything from 12 months to 18 months. Recently, APRA published a detailed 70-page report on the number of specialist international medical graduate applications. What are my chances of success? How long does it take? And how many are partially versus substantially comparable? In this report, we will touch each and every one of those points and even more. So let's have a look at this report. Now, this report reflects all the applications that were made to all the colleges from January till December 2023. So just last year, and the report has only been published a few weeks ago. Basically, in this report that they're saying they had about 358 applications for Royal Australian College of General Practitioners. For Royal Australian College of Physicians, that is Medicine and Allied, they had 265 applications. Royal Australian New Zealand College of Radiologists, there were 141 applications. Royal Australian College of Surgeons had 136 applications. Moving on. So across all colleges, the proportion of IMGs assessed as substantial or partially or not comparable varies across countries. And they were saying that like 2% of the applicants from the UK is assessed as non-comparable. So yes, even though from the UK, you can be found non-comparable. So do pay attention to the application form. 38% was assessed partial. There you go. And 60% were assessed as substantially comparable. So no longer it's about completing the CCT from the UK and having everything. It is also about doing the interview right, having the application form done and providing the correct documents in the correct format. 18% of applicants from India were assessed as non-comparable and 65% partial and 17% were assessed as substantial comparable. Sri Lanka is actually making quite big progress. Despite the small size of the country, they are having good number of applications. How does it compare? Now, 2% of the applicants from Sri Lanka were assessed as not comparable, which is very good. 70% were partial and 28% were substantial. Similarly, 7% of applicants from South Africa, not comparable, 53% partial, 40% substantial. 26% from Iran were assessed as non-comparable, 58% assessed as partial comparable, and 16% as substantial comparable. And 5% from the USA, not comparable, 67% partial, and 28% as substantial. So majority, 80% of the applicants for specialist pathway who applied in the area of need were found suitable. The only issue with this pathway is that you have to have a job offer, meaning good CV, meaning good interview skills. So we are offering services with CV and interview preparation for specialists. So please jump on our website www.emergencyfocus.net to help us find you these jobs and prepare your CV and prepare your interview for these jobs. Almost all IMGs who completed the pathway in 2023 under standards, 97% met the requirements to become recommended for specialist recognition. This is in principle great news. Once you are on the specialist pathway, you are going to become a specialist here in Australia. 97% of you did that exactly. So keep that in mind. This pathway is very good. No AMC exams, coming here, working here as a registrar in the first 1 year or 1.5 years, and then becoming a specialist after pre review and some final exit exam, and then becoming an independent working specialist with no more restrictions on your practice. So think about and let it sink in for a while. So they're saying that 89% of the IMGs received their SPR within 21-day benchmark, which is mandated by Australian Medical Board or APRA. 85% of IMGs were offered an interview within the benchmark time frame, which is 4 months from the submission of completed application form. Okay, so this is an interesting graph. If you can see, this is an IMG country of qualification, primary medical degree and specialist qualification. So this is a little bit skewed, but work with me on that one. That all of the people who applied for the specialist pathway, out of which 253 were from India who did their primary medical qualification in India, and then 179 had specialist qualification from India. So big number. So good on you, India. Like it's 253, 179 applications. It's still good number. Pakistan, 118. And 35 is specialist application. Again, this number may have diluted with more UK degrees and diplomas. Sri Lanka has done very well. 131 primary qualifications. For such a small country, it is an amazing feat. Then there are other countries like Canada, 24 specialist application, Egypt 23 specialist applications, Iran 62 is specialist application, and you've got 27 from Malaysia. You've got 69 from South Africa, and United States, you've got 26 from US as well. All right. Now, specialist recognition outcomes of the interim assessment, that means after the application and interview, by country of high specialist qualification, all colleges. For India, 22 were found non-comparable, 79 were found partially comparable, and 20 were found substantially comparable. So Pakistan, out of which total applications, 1 was found non-comparable, 9 were comparable, and 1 was found substantially comparable. Sri Lanka, out of all the applications, 44 were partially comparable, 18 were substantially comparable, and only 1 was found non-comparable. United Kingdom, obviously majority of people, specialists come from United Kingdom, only 7 were non-comparable, 115 is still partially comparable, and 185 were substantially comparable. So what about the number of applications received by various colleges? So if you look at that, it shows that the number of applications that were received from the Australian College of Dermatology were 31. Maximum number was from GP, that's 358. Then it was Royal Australian College of Physicians, 265 application. Royal Australian College of Surgeons, 136 application. Then we have College of Anaesthetists, 117 application. Then we have got College of Radiology, 141 application. Then we've got Ranscock, which has got 55 application, that's Obs and Gynae. Psychiatrists have got 98, nearly 100 application. And pathologists have got 37 applications, out of which, nearly 20 have been approved as partial and substantially comparable. Good results overall. The total time for interim assessment, 4 months. Within 4 months of submission of application and having the interview, you have your comparability outcome. Majority of them. Only few people would go up to 6 months. The lengthiest applications are by the College of Surgery. Very important graph from the Surgical College that it took an average of more than 9 months after the interview for Royal Australian College of Surgeons to make a decision. Conclusion, time frames are best relative. How good you have prepared for an exam, how thorough are your application forms, and how well do you interview. Now, I've seen doctors been offered jobs within 3 months of passing AMC alone, but I've also seen doctors struggling to find a job even after passing AMC clinical because of lack of clinical experience. So it's not one size fits all. You need to have everything set out in its best shape and form to have that perfect recipe to minimize that time frame. Now, recently we got one doctor from ASEM, that is Australian College of Emergency Medicine, and another from Royal Australian College of Physicians, both being found substantially comparable within 1 month of application and interview at the specialist college. Very good effort from the entire team. I'm very proud of that. The actual process and the working with them to achieve that application interview took me nearly 3 months. In many ways, we are actually the engineers of our own time, and we create time for ourselves. And yes, you can be more thorough and plan everything, check and recheck, but the execution will remain the key rewarding substance. My advice would be decide, plan, and execute. Use as much help. Call me, send me an email. I've got a team to help you out and achieve your goal. Respect time, and the time will reward you over and over again. Look after yourself and each other. Goodbye.